Let's now bring in a political analyst, Dr Levy Ndou, to weigh in on the developments in the City of Johannesburg leadership. I'm also still joined in studio by Mbalendle Ntetwa. All right, Dr Ndou, let's start with you. I mean, you were listening pretty much to that briefing that was held by the ANC just hours after the resignation of Gwamanda, which was anticipated. Just give us your initial thoughts in terms of what came out of that briefing. Of course, also nominating Dada Morero to return as executive mayor of Johannesburg, so to speak.
Good afternoon, Unati. Good afternoon, Bali, and the viewers at home. My assessment of the press briefing by the Regional Executive Committee of Johannesburg is that they have started by making an assessment of the programs that they feel that the ANC has been able to achieve in government through the City of Johannesburg. And what they also did was to outline to the people that they were actually giving some time the mayor to be in charge because they wanted to see the house to be in order. And now that the situation appears to have turned around, now they want to go back and take over the leadership of the city. I think it is also based on the fact that they could be strategically positioning themselves for the 2026 local government elections. And at the same time, there is an Action SA factor in my view, that the arrival of Action SA actively in the politics of the City of Johannesburg could have had an impact on the reconfiguration of government as indicated by the ANC, because in any way, the arrival of Action SA necessitates some changes to be made in the leadership of the City of Johannesburg.
And thanks for that, Dr. Ndou. Mbalendle, of course, you spoke to Gwamanda soon after he resigned. I mean, he had a lot to say, particularly in terms of what others have criticized as a tumultuous tenure. In fact, saying that he was very beneficial to where we are as a city at the moment.
Yes, certainly. He did explain to the viewers that the service delivery challenges did not begin when he took office, and his qualification or lack thereof, according to what civil society organizations have been saying, has nothing to do with what has transpired in the City of Johannesburg. He did also attribute the failure to service delivery in the City of Johannesburg to the mayor at the time, which was Herman Mashaba, in 2016. And he says that when Herman Mashaba came in as mayor, he was hell-bent on cancelling all contracts because he saw them as corrupt, and having been appointed, those companies having been appointed without following proper procurement processes. And that is when the failure started, because it meant that there was a huge breakdown and there was a break in service delivery. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Johannesburg, firstly, is a highly contested municipality, so much so that all the wrongs that have taken place in the past in the City of Johannesburg have been concealed for whichever reason. But the government of local unity had come forth and said transparency, good governance, financial stability is part of our strategic priorities for the government of local unity. There had been vehicles that have been grounded in the city. JMPD could not perform its duties. Service providers, of course, had not been paid due to the fact that finances were prioritized for internal issues of impeding on the work of administration, as opposed to enabling an environment that would allow service delivery to continue. Our first order of business was to look at the contracts that were unduly cancelled or put on hold, so that we can reactivate those to ensure that the first phase of our restoration process unfolds. The second to that was to look at the Auditor General's findings and which areas we needed to focus on so that we can improve in our spend, in the manner in which our finances as a city are handled, because we are entrusted by residents to discharge our duties, in particular relating to the finances of the city, with integrity, with the consideration that they've entrusted us with that role and responsibility. And in as far as I can put it, is that there had been no issues that were registered during that particular period. And the government of local unity did, in fact, do their best to ensure that we restore to some level the service delivery that was required in the city of Johannesburg.
Well, Unathi, what the mayor is in fact saying is that, you know, one of the gains that they oversaw or were responsible for was good governance. And the issue of ensuring that service delivery was then prioritized by ensuring that those contracts that were unduly cancelled are then reinstated in order to ensure that services are then continue and delivered to the people. He also speaks of how the efforts that they had made in order to ensure that they address adverse findings from the Auditor General and to ensure that there is some form of improvement. I mean, we know that audit findings are very important for different municipalities, and SALGA does hold awards for those municipalities that seem to be doing well in that regard. So essentially just talking about governance and also restoring financial prudence in the city of Johannesburg, and stabilizing the finances, as at the time when they took over, the government of local unity took over, there was a time and a period where service providers could not be paid, and this led to the grounding of the JMPD fleet in the December of 2022, and at the time the multi-party DA-led coalition was running the city and at the helm of the city.
And Dr. Ndou, I want to pick up where Mbali is just basically giving us that picture in terms of, you know, the time that Gwamanda came in. I mean, now that we are looking at a potential new leadership and a new leader in terms of Dada Morero being the executive mayor, the problem is really not who is at the helm. The problem is really about does the leadership listen to what is needed on the ground by the citizens of Johannesburg? When you look at where the city is at the moment, what kind of leadership do we need, and what should happen the minute that executive mayor is appointed? Because that really is the question. Are we going to see movement in as far as the city is concerned?
The thing is that the very same people who have been in the council are just changing chairs, moving from one space to the other. And that does not necessarily mean that the challenges that are being faced by ordinary citizens in the city of Johannesburg can be changed overnight. Of huge interest is that in the press briefing, they have started by talking more about the achievement that they've made, and that talks to the view that says that Gwamanda, whilst was there as the mayor, he has been getting instructions and support from other political parties. In any way, he is coming from the minority party, and therefore he had to take instructions from other bigger parties that are within the council. But if the attitude of the political leaders does not change to focus mainly on what they're supposed to do, which is service delivery, we might not see any changes. And what appears to be the situation in Johannesburg is that there are more problems that are coming up every single day, and it will therefore mean that the finding of solutions to such is going to be a very, very huge hassle.